Yesterday, I told you that Canon would be announcing new lenses, and that these lenses would surprise you. I talked about the 200 to 1000 millimeter, and the crazy 50 millimeter f1.2 with an internal teleconverter, and of course, some tilt shift lenses. Well, it looks like that rumor shook the rumor tree because we've got more info. Can you guess which lenses we're getting? Well, I'll break down the details for you in just a moment. But if you are serious about staying up to date on the latest camera gear, make sure to subscribe. It helps this channel grow and it keeps you in the loop. Okay, hands up to anybody that thought we were getting that 200 to 1000 millimeter. Anyone? Okay, David, we're not. No, tis a silly idea after all. And the other one might seem like a silly idea too, the 50 millimeter f1.2 with a built-in teleconverter. And again, we have this patent application that shows it is something that Canon has been working on. So are we getting that one? A Q-inspired, James Bond Q-inspired crazy lens? Well, no. I mean, that would certainly be outlandish. It would certainly be crazy, and it would certainly surprise us all. I wonder if they even have a prototype on this, or if they've spent much time other than a patent application to work on it. So what lenses are we getting then? Well, it kind of narrows it down, doesn't it? Here's what my source this morning had to say. Canon's updating the tilt shift lenses with new RF versions. Well, hello, some tilt shift lenses. Now at this point, it doesn't really surprise me a whole lot. I mean, it surprises me in terms of how long it's taking to refresh the EF versions of these lenses. And I know what you're thinking though, right? Which versions are we getting? Well, my source added this. Canon's working on the 24 millimeter, the 35 millimeter, and the 50 millimeter. And if we go all the way back to November of 2020, Canon Rumors had published this, a lens roadmap that they expected to be filled over the next couple of years. And everything you see in green here has either been delivered in whole or pretty close to that, with the exception of the tilt shift lenses, the 14 millimeter and the 24 millimeter. So no 14 millimeter, and in a way that one doesn't completely surprise me. But to get a 24 millimeter, which is pretty good for landscape, as well as a 35 millimeter, and then something that gets up a little bit more close and personal, the 50 millimeter. Oh, and I forgot to mention, my source said that they didn't know when they were coming out. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit frustrating, not knowing when they're coming out, that Canon's working on them, and in a way that's a good thing. It's really not a surprise that Canon is going to refresh the tilt shift lenses with the RF mount. If you take a look at all those RF lens or EF lenses that Canon had, a lot of them have been since canceled. They're no longer making them. But the tilt shift lenses, well, they're still on sale. They're still being made. And well, let's go ahead and take a look. There's about 3 or 4 of them. We've got the 24 millimeter f3.5 at $18.99, but we also have the 17 millimeter f4, $21.49, the 50 millimeter f2.8, $21.99, and also at $21.99 is the 90 millimeter f2.8. The only thing that concerns me here is that they're still working on them. As far as an announcement date goes, well, that could be anything. It could be the second half of this year, which I think is a little bit more likely. With all the, how should we say, the economic chaos that's going on right now due to tariff restrictions, due to a capital flight from the United States, a drop of the US dollar, all these things are having a lot of companies kind of sit back and say, well, wait a minute here, we need to reevaluate pricing, we need to reevaluate our strategy here. It's giving a lot of companies pause, and forget the politics, forget even the business side of this, knowing that it's causing some pause, that kind of, well, it adjusts the time frame. So these tilt shift lenses, they're not going to be huge sellers. So the second half of 2025, I would think at the earliest. But it could also be first quarter into 2026. What I would really like to do is to get into Canon's boardroom and to hear what's going on. Projects like these, they could be halted, they could be delayed, they could shift priorities to other projects like the refresh of the R6 or the R7 or other lenses like f1.2s that are more important. So as far as the time frame goes, it's good that they're working on it. I wouldn't expect to see Canon canceling these, but don't expect that we're going to get an announcement for them within the next couple of months. What it's looking like right now is, well, it's going to be a little bit further than that. And in terms of pricing, Well, if we take a look at the pricing for the current EF tilt-shift lenses from, what, $18.99 for the 35mm, all the way up to $21.99 for the 90 and the 50mm, it's pretty safe to say we're not going to see prices lower than that. In fact, if the base tariffs stay in place, I would expect prices to go up anywhere, well, from 10 to 15%. That's a big if. We also are probably 1 month into a 90-day reprieve, so it'll really depend on what happens in the next couple of months as to whether additional tariffs come in place, which would affect pricing, at least in the United States, upward a bit more, and most likely in Canada and much of the Americas, because Canon USA is responsible for all of the Americas, both North and South. So once I know a little bit more, I'm getting some trickling of information coming in about some retail stores have already started to put up the prices of certain Canon gear, such as the 400mm f2.8. It's not a major camera store, and the reason why you might be seeing this happening at different times is anything that was brought into the country before April the 5th wouldn't have the tariff applied. So they've got to go through that stock. But for anything that's brought in after April the 5th into the United States, you're going to have that 10% tariff that's going to have to be paid by the importer, which is going to be passed on to the retailer. And we don't know how many steps are in between, but I think factoring in at least a 10% increase on those prices. But even outside of Europe, these lenses have been out for a significant amount of time. The real question we have to ask ourselves, what about these RF versions of the tilt-shift lenses would surprise us? What could Canon do? So for example, if we look at this 100mm f2.8, put my glasses on so I can actually take a look at it here. They did a couple of things here. So we've got this SA control ring here, which I've currently got turned off. I've never really used it. The magnification level, it's a really good lens. It's a good solid lens, and it doesn't cost that much more than the actual EF version. So that one was pretty good value, but still there was a price increase. So at this point, I would assume anywhere from a 10 to 20% increase over the EF versions. And once I have more information on that, I'll be sure to let you know. I also, again, took a look to see what's on sale. We still see a lot of camera gear on sale, but keep in mind, this could change at least in the United States. Once all that gear that was imported before the tariffs came into effect on April the 5th, once they've gone through the system, you can expect to see prices go up. And we don't know where. I was talking to a gentleman last night who's in the New England area, and he was saying that based on his calculations, he figured an 8.75% increase. But it just depends, because the reason why he suggested that is the price of the 400mm f2.8 went up by $1,000, so it wasn't a full 10%. And again, as I've suggested, Canon could potentially absorb some of that cost, as in this case could be 1.25%, but we really don't know. But if you are looking at purchasing gear right now, a lot of people have been picking up the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, and please consider using my affiliate links down below, because it really does help support this channel. But lastly, I want to talk to you guys about one issue. I recorded this video earlier today, and something strange happened. And I'm looking through the Ninja now, and everything looks fine. I got upstairs, and it was brighter, and it almost had a green cast to it. I kind of fixed it up a little bit and thought, that's good enough. And then I realized, no, I want to record it again. It's the second time this has happened. The lighting looks fine. I don't see any changes to the lighting around me, or I don't recall there being any changes. So that leaves me with one of two possibilities. It's the Ninja, or it's the R5, the Mark I. Has anybody ever had a similar problem like this? I'm going to pay a little bit more attention when I look at the Ninja to see. I've got my other glasses here so I can take a look-see right now, and my face looks perfect. The pinks, the reds, everything about the skin color looks bang on. So if I happen to get upstairs and it looks really washed out, then it'll give me an idea. But the last time this happened was probably a couple of months ago. I get a sense that something's getting ready to go, but I don't know what. If you have any ideas, let me know in the comment section down below. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're interested in knowing what goes on behind the scenes, and you want to see what some of this color cast video that I'm talking about looks like, consider joining and becoming an insider. But that's it for now. Have yourself a good weekend. Happy Easter, and we'll see you again soon.